After 10 days of deliberations, the jury in former House Speaker Mike Madigan's federal case did find him partially guilty, but on fewer than half of the charges he'd been facing.
Illinois lawmakers on both sides of the aisle are reacting to the results from this 3-month-long trial. Madison Porter sharing their thoughts tonight.
Tyler and Janice, Mike Madigan served as the Illinois House Speaker for more than 3 decades, becoming the longest-serving House Speaker in U.S. history until he resigned from the House of Representatives in 2021, followed by the 23 charges filed the following year.
This is a historic conviction.
Former Illinois House Speaker Michael Madigan was convicted Wednesday morning on 10 counts of conspiracy, bribery, and wire fraud to enhance his political power and financial well-being. His 8 years of corruption was far-reaching in scope, according to a United States attorney, affecting Illinois taxpayers whether they knew it or not.
The citizens of Illinois have a right to honest, clean government. They have a right to trust and expect that from their public officials. Michael Madigan breached and violated that trust over and over again.
That's a statement that aligns with State Senator Dave Kaler's reaction to Madigan's 10 guilty, 6 acquitted, and 7 deadlock charges. Kaler adds the verdict reminds people in public service who they work for, saying the case of Mike Madigan demonstrates that ethics are crucial and that no one is above the law. In this instance, ethics prevailed and democracy was upheld. House Republican Deputy Leader Ryan Spain believes the House chamber still operates under the Madigan way, with current Speaker Chris Welch. Spain says Illinois families want to see change, and now it's time to rebuild the trust in the state.
So today it's clear with this verdict, we have to change the way we do business in the state of Illinois. We have to throw out the Mike Madigan playbook and do away with this culture of corruption that continues to persist in our state house.
Governor J.B. Pritzker also mentioned trust in public officials in his statement following today's verdict. He says those who violate the public's trust must be held accountable if confidence in the system is to be restored.